Well. Chapter 36 of Genesis, a chapter every single teacher wants to do. Said no teacher ever. We just came through uh, sort of a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a it's a what do you call it? An inflection point. The kind of the conclusion to basically it concludes, it ties up loose ends for a bunch of things that have already happened in Genesis, and then it's going to be the gateway into the launch pad into the whole new development in the lives of the patriarchs. That might be the best way to think of it. We move from the period of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob into the period of the 12 tribes. And chapter 35 will see the beginning of that, because Jacob will lay down some orders that will basically sanctify the family, although you wouldn't have the slightest clue of that based on what's coming. But basically sanctify the family. It's been all him up till now. He's had the appearances from God. He's the one that God made a covenant with. He made reciprocal promises, which have now been called in by God. That's what he was doing in Bethel in chapter 35. But there's never been and there is not now, nor will there be any special promises made, specific promises made to any of the 12 sons. You're going to see the blessings and the cursings, depending on how you think of them, that Jacob hands down at the end of the book. But he's not going to appear to any of the 12 sons. Let me think about this. In order to make special promises to them about the future of Israel. I don't think.
The dreams to Joseph.
Do we get anything from Joseph with Joseph that's a direct appearance by God or communication? Yeah, he just speaks God. He just has these dreams, but he doesn't get what all three of the patriarchs have had so far, which are these special appearances. And then neither will yeah, that's probably it. I think that's it. There's no more. And so we've kind of entered a new phase in the life of this family that Genesis is all about tracking. From Genesis chapter 1 to the end of the book and then into Exodus is about the tracing of this family, the saga of this family. I was thinking about how these stories unfold. If you go back to Genesis chapter 2, you see this. Chapter 2 ends in this, Adam and Eve were not ashamed. They were both naked and not ashamed. Promptly, chapter 3, with the serpent and shame and guilt, immediately within just a few verses. You move forward. Let's see. Now you're going to get to Noah after the flood. There's the covenant with the rainbow. He builds an altar and makes a sacrifice. Great. Promptly, the story of Noah getting drunk and Canaan and the curse on Canaan because of the curse on Ham, which is going to be passed down to Canaan, his son.
Actually, there was no curse on Ham, it was just on Canaan, but
Yeah.
yes, because of Ham's.
Then you move forward. Abraham, go forth from your country, you get the promise. He comes to Canaan. Immediately, builds an altar at Bethel. And then immediately, oh, this is great. Oh, but he immediately goes to Egypt, where he has this embarrassing encounter with the Pharaoh, the king, who drives him back to Canaan. Now you're going to come to Jacob, where he's told to go to Paddan Aram, the kind of hometown, the common hometown of their extended family up in Haran, or the city of Haran in the territory of Paddan Aram. And he gets up there and there's this big mess with 4 wives. So he comes back, he's got Esau to deal with. But that conflict resolves. It's this heartwarming story about Esau and the resolution of that, and all is well. And then promptly, the story of Shechem, where Simeon and Levi kill all the males, basically kill the males and destroy the city in kind of a foreshadowing of the conquest. And so you can see the pattern here. There's this moment that you think would be the conclusion, which is this sort of positive outcome in the plan of God, which then immediately drops to this negative event. So now we're going to do it again, because I probably didn't even hit them all. Now there's going to be this covenant renewal ceremony with Jacob and God, where the whole clan is sanctified, and he tells them to put away the foreign gods among them, and so on and so forth. And then immediately, it's like right in the middle of it, verse 22, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. No positive outcome can just be left as a positive outcome. There's always a mess that is on the other side of it. And so now Isaac dies, and you see once again this moment where Esau and Jacob have reconciled, and they bury Isaac at the end of the story. And then you have this chronicle of, this listing of the 12 tribes, because they're all there now in 23 through 26. But it's a fairly, again, we recover from the Reuben thing. But just around the corner, after we have a little pause for Esau's genealogy, chapter 37 is coming, which we'll get to in a few minutes, which is a mess. And it's going to stay a mess till the end of the book, essentially. How God gets anything done with humans is itself maybe the greatest of miracles in the history of miracles. I don't know. Short of the incarnation, which I consider to be the greatest miracle ever performed by God. Mm-hmm. The incarnation of God as man. So that's 35. Now there's a timeout, which we're not going to run through this other than to point some highlights out. So you're going to have a genealogy of Esau. And then after this, you're going to have a genealogy. These are the generations of Esau, like you had, these are the generations of Shem. These are the generations of Adam. These 10 generations of that divide up the book, and Esau is one of them, even though he's one that's dismissed from the narrative, from the history of redemption, except to be a kind of a sideshow later on in the history of Israel. But anyway, these are the generations of Esau. And then further down, is it in this one? No, it's the next chapter. These are the generations of Jacob. So he picks up the two twins, Isaac's twins, Isaac and Rebekah's, and he does two genealogies. The difference is Esau's is going to take one chapter, and Jacob's is going to take the rest of the book, which is 14 chapters. And of the 14 chapters of the generations of Jacob, 13 of them are going to be Joseph, dedicated to Joseph, which nobody sees coming at this point. But remember, the end point of it's still held in abeyance. You don't know how it's going to happen, but you know that this whole group has got to end up in Egypt. And the question is, how are they going to get there? And why, which we can deal with later. But okay, so he has this statement at the beginning of this genealogy. These are the generations of Esau, that is Edom. And so, I'm looking at, did I lose it? I lost the maps. They closed for some reason when I shut down my computer to come here. All I do is close the lid. The maps close. Look at that. Isn't that weird? So let me go find the map. Now I'll do it on the internet. That's still open. All right. Let's just look at this. This is just ancient Mount Seir. You'll see why in a minute. Let's go find a map. But here's this one right here shows here's Canaan right here. Here's Sinai, the Sinai Desert. And so where is Edom? Where did Esau's descendants end up? Let's go back down and find it.
Let's see what.
Yeah, I mean, that's this will work. So here's Israel again. Let's open it. Make it bigger. Down here is down to the southwest here is Egypt and Sinai. Sinai is right on the other side here. I think it's this right here.
Mhm.
And this is what they're calling Edom. And then to the north is going to be, for example, Moab, Ammon and Moab up to the north here. And this is going to be Israel over here.
That far south. And,
And so, you know, there's kind of a bit of a guess, or maybe not in the guesswork on this, is Mount Seir. They're calling it, no, we're interested in Mount Seir. Why? Because when Esau is going to part, and we'll read that in just a second. He's going to separate from Jacob because they got a lot of stuff. It's going to be the same exact thing as another threat to the covenant, Abraham and Lot. And Lot decides that he's going to go east. And Edom is going to decide they've got too much stuff to be in the same place. So he's going to go to the southeast or directly east. I don't know, however you want to think of it. And so the sort of central geographic marker of that territory is, let me find a good, I had it up until I moved it, until I picked something else. Mount Seir. Where's that? I know this just looks like I'm flipping around on these pages here. It doesn't even matter that much, I guess. But you can see that Mount Seir it's just desolate. I mean, all this land is desolate. We'll see why that matters in a minute. But Mount Seir is the place within the territory of Edom. If I can go back there. That's the kind of central marker, geographic marker of that territory.
sometimes
Right here.
The nations refer to as seer, isn't it?
Yeah. Israel's going to have to bypass Edom when it moves up to the conquest in hundreds of years. And God is, as I've already read, God is going to give them specific instructions, commands. You will do nothing to harass the Edomites. You will leave them alone. And the Edomites are not going to be cooperative. Moses says, hey, we want to pass through your territory. We're not going to turn the right to the left. We want to buy some food and buy water. We'll pay for everything, but we just want passage through your territory so we can get north. And Edom said, no, you're not going to do that. And rather than exterminate them, like he's going to do with Og, the king of Bashan, and Sihon, these two kings to the north, Ammon, I think. Is it Ammon?
Yeah.
He's going to leave them alone because that's the orders from God. Go down and look and see if there's anything else worth looking at here. Here's a pretty good picture of it. Here's Canaan up here. This is Edom with Mount Seir.
Moab's a different country.
Moab's up north a little bit. Yeah, it's along.
But the sun's
It's a lot.
where Edom, so the sun's
But you can see it right there. It's alongside of Israel on to the east. Well, would that be modern Jordan?
I think so.
Probably something like that. There's the Gulf of Aqaba.
I think modern Jordan is both Moab and Edom.
No, that's the Gulf of Aqaba. Excuse me, right here. So this would be the Dead Sea right here.
Yeah.
So it goes Edom, Moab, and Ammon to the north. And then up over that is Syria. So that's the point. Esau, the brother, that is the father, the patriarch of the Edomites who lived to the southeast of Israel.
Striking the nation is called red. That's what the name Edom means, is red.
Esau took his wives from the Canaanites. So you see this marked distinction between the direction Esau took and the direction Jacob took. Because what was the main point of what did Rebekah take to Isaac that was of concern to her about Jacob? He didn't want any more of these Canaanite wives, or she didn't want any more of these Canaanite wives. So she was the catalyst for him heading to the northeast to go back to I don't know, the patriarchal common point, last common point, in Haran or in Paddan Aram. So he could take a wife, it turns out wives, from their own family, because that's how they rolled in those days.
You know, I was thinking this morning about this deal with Canaanites and, you know, it traces back to Noah, his grandson Canaan, and the curse on Canaan. And now, basically, God doesn't want the people to have anything to do with the Canaanites. And he's going to use Israel to bring his judgment to fulfill that curse on Canaan. Later on, of course, Israel never fully did it.
That's explicit in the covenant. That's covenant ceremony in chapter 15. The iniquity of the Amorite is not yet complete, implying that Israel, you know, there's this element about the conquest, about the giving of the land. I'm not necessarily doing this for you. I got my own agenda, says God. I always have my own agenda. Well, you think I'm gonna have your agenda? Your agenda is not worth having. My agenda is worth having. You'll benefit from it, but it's going to be my agenda. So he went away in starting in verse 6, took all that he had, all the property he had acquired in Canaan. He went away into the land. He went into a land away from his brother Jacob. In other words, he didn't move to Edom. He didn't move to Seir, which is south. What do you got? North. What is it? Northwest Arabia. Northwest Arabia. He didn't do that on a whim or because the land looked great. I mean, the man probably did look good from his perspective, from Herder's perspective. I don't know. But the reason was it was a pragmatic point that they had to separate from each other. And again, it works out to the benefit of the guy that got the promise. So Esau settled in the hill country of Seir. Then he repeats, Esau is Edom, twice now. So for posterity, they're, you know, hundreds of years later, when this is written, and Edom is a thing, they're referencing back to Esau, which might have something to do with illuminating them on why it is that God will not allow them to harass the Edomites at all. What's special about them? Well, they're kind of your twin brother. And yeah, you didn't get along and so on and so forth. And you're not going to get along even more later in history, but they're your twin brother. You're going to leave them alone. You're going to leave alone the descendants of Lot. You're not going to touch them either. That's what he's going to say in Deuteronomy. I think it's Deuteronomy. Now he's back again. Esau, the father of the Edomites, 3 times in the hill country of Seir. That belongs to them. You don't get that land, Israel. And then he lists out, now he's going to list out is it 12? The 12 dukes, chiefs. In the King James, it's dukes. In this version, it's chiefs right here. So, you know, he's really blessed Esau as well, which you didn't really see coming. I mean, you wouldn't get any indication from that story back then. It's not like Ishmael, where he told Hagar, look, I'm going to take care of your son. He's going to be the father of a great nation or whatever. He doesn't say anything like that about Esau. They have this conflict. Esau disappears for a while, and when he comes back in, and this is the story unfolds. And even in the New Testament, the only reference to him I can remember is the one in Hebrews, where it's a negative reference. But if you didn't have that, you would look at this and go, man, God has really blessed this guy, which he did.
think it's 5 sons they bore, that he
Well,
had.
if you add them all up, so I think it's 12. You add 3 wives together.
I think it's 12, but they're all listed right here. You'd have to just add them together, right here. I missed another one. Right here. Is he making a point? What do you think? I think he's making a point. That's number 4. That is Edom. What else do I want to say about? I really like this name right here. Aholibama, who is a female. So he lists out he lists out descendants of the female, not the male. Aholibama. I really like that name. If I was going to have a daughter, Aholibama. I don't know what her nickname would be. Oha,
Holly,
Holly.
Obama, oh,
Well,
Maybe it's just the way that who's the guy that does the King James? Man, Skirby, Alexander Skirby says it the way he says Aholibama. I don't know. Plus, it's a 5-syllable name. There's not a lot of those. Let's see what else do I want to talk about here. So he lists them out. He tells you about the chiefs, the 12. I think it's 12, but you guys can count them. I have no identity tied up in how many there are, except that he wants to point out that they've been prospered exceedingly. It's like, again, it's when God said to Abraham, I will make you a father of many nations. Well, this is the fulfillment. This is a fulfillment chapter in that sense. We don't have, Jacob isn't a father of many nations. He's going to be the father of Israel.
I know it's specifically pointed out about Ishmael that he had 12 sons. The 12 tribes from Ishmael,
Mhm.
12 tribes from Israel.
Yeah, we'll get back to Ishmael when we get into 37. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the Israelites. That's an interesting statement right there.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And
I'm going to sidestep the issue.
but not only this, but in the law, there's anticipation of kings. Although you get the idea that wasn't God's desire.
And I just noticed it again. Edom, the father of, right here. I'm going to highlight it just to finish it out.
That last one is Edom, the bookend.
Yep, it starts that way. That's a good point. That's deliberate, bracket. These are the generations of Esau, that is Edom. And it ends with, these are the chiefs of Edom. The chiefs of Esau, the father of Edom. In the land of their possession. Right there. No, we're never told, but the implication is clear. They were given that land as a possession by God. It just never got said in the narrative. He takes inheritance really serious. All because of what was promised to Abraham. He's going to bless all these, including Lot. Lot's going to be given 2 possessions through through the sons that he obtained from incestuous relationships with his daughters. Esau's going to get possessions from his marriage to Canaanite wives. I don't know. I don't make the rules. I'm just a messenger. I'm the messenger of the messenger. I'm repeating the messenger's message. So that's Esau. And we finished this generation. Anybody want to say anything about that? Any more? And that will conclude the story of Esau. We will now leave him behind so that the chaos can reign once again. It's brutal. So let's get into it. 1 through 4. Jacob lived in the land of his father's travels, sojourns, in the land of Canaan. Yeah, I think that would be the the southern half of Canaan. We'll get back to it. I think Isaac is gonna, the last report was that he was in what was eventually called Hebron. And I think they called Mamre at this time. Somebody can look it up. These are the generations of Jacob, and what you're expecting here now is another boring thing like with Esau. You're not gonna get a boring thing with Esau. You're not gonna ever get a generation. You're gonna get, you already got the list of the 12 sons. That already happened in 35. This is the story, you could put it this way. This is the story of Jacob and the 12 sons. And it's now going to take 14 chapters to the end of the book.
And they don't call him Israel, even though his name's been changed.
He's going to go back and forth.
Can be interchangeable.
I always look for it might be significant in some way that he chooses to use Israel.
I'm sure it is, but
Like when Reuben did a disgraceful thing in Israel with Bilhah. I think he chose Israel deliberately. Not it's larger than he did a disgraceful thing to Jacob. It's bigger than that. He did a disgraceful thing in Israel.
it might, how about this? It may have something to do with the name Jacob ties more to Abraham, perhaps, whereas Israel ties more to the nation idea. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, Jacob would be the one who was promised something. Israel is what was promised. And so he did a disgraceful thing in what was promised in this nation. Okay, Joseph, we'll pick him up. And one of the questions here is, when did this happen in the chronology? Because we always assume as English-speaking Westerners that a later story means happened later, which that isn't, you can never assume that in biblical narratives. They didn't think that way.
Later than what?
The previous story. So the previous story was the trip out of Shechem to Bethel. And the story previous to that was in which Rachel died and Benjamin was born. But there's no marker. There's no narrative marker of when this happened. Joseph, the marker is Joseph was 17 years old. And they've settled in and they're pasturing flocks. We'll get a cue in a minute or in a little bit.
Well,
So-
wouldn't Benjamin had been born by this time, because he knew he had a younger brother.
There's going to be a reference.
That's why it's 11 brothers. He was three.
there's a reference to 12.
12,
Yeah.
11, yeah, the 11 right now. We'll do that. We'll do that in a second. Okay, Joseph so he's number 11 out of 12. Being 17 years old, we have no stories about Joseph yet. We don't know anything about him. It's unflattering in this chapter, but this is the first real information we have about him. Born in Paddan Aram, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Silpah,
Why do they just list those two?
his father's wives. You know what? I never noticed that before. I've listened to this chapter 50 times, and I've just now noticed he was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. So why was he a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah?
Perhaps to distinguish the sons of Leah.
His mother's dead.
Well,
He's not with Rachel.
That's true.
I mean, Leah's sons might not be out here with these guys too.
And with the death, Bella was Rachel's maid.
Yeah.
right? And so they probably took a lot in raising the children.
It's also possible that Leah wanted nothing to do with him, being a son of
Yeah.
Rachel. Joseph brought a bad report of them to their father. Now, what was this bad report? I don't know. There's a lot. My hunch is there was a lot to choose from. There are a lot of bad reports you could give about these brothers, but we don't get it.
Maybe he's the one that reported about Bill and.
Maybe that's the bad report.
Yeah, maybe. I was just thinking to myself.
Because there is this connection here, right, between Bilhah and Joseph. Now Israel, there's Israel. not Joseph, or Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his sons, including Benjamin. And ironically, because Joseph, he says, was the son of his old age. Well, really, Benjamin is the son of his old age.
Yeah.
But Joseph obviously already had that status even before Benjamin. So Joseph is the special one.
And then when Benjamin was born, his wife died, so maybe that's why he loved Joseph more.
And of course, Joseph was the firstborn of his
Yeah.
favorite wife.
Yeah.
And so he made him a robe of many colors because that really gets you in well with the other brothers when they can see you walking around with this coat that has a patch on the back of it that says, "I'm the favorite." And it's in fluorescent lights. I'm the favorite.
Play called Joseph in the Technicolor coat.
But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Well, you're not going to say something like that as an aside and then move off to something else positive or something. That's the foreshadowing that this is going to be a train wreck. So here it comes, as if it couldn't get worse for Joseph. Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, hated him even more. He said to him, "Hear this dream that I have." Why is he telling him this dream?
It's concerning.
He didn't say that. He just said, "I had this dream. What do you think of it?" 17, that's right. Tact and 17. Tact and 17 are not words that appear in the same sentence very often. He was a tactful 17-year-old. Said no one ever. I didn't say women. Women might be tactful, but the men, I have no comment on any daughters in the room who might be 17 years old.
I think she's still 16, aren't you? You are 17. We're picking on you today, man.
I'm not. I'm defending. Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood up. Your sheaves gathered round and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, "What? Are you indeed?" They picked up the message immediately, so obviously he did too. So he's coming. At this point, you can say, all right, he's throwing it in their face.
Well,
They took their dream serious.
he took the dream seriously, but he also understood their hatred towards him, so he made them trying to one best them, you know?
I don't have any doubt. Like I said, nobody comes off very well in these stories. There's not a lot of virtue. So who has virtue so far? Man, since the birth of Jacob and Esau, there's not a lot of virtue on anyone. If you were going to make the movie, did anybody ever see the movie Payback? The Mel Gibson movie? I love it. It's all bad guys. Every single person there are no good guys in the movie. But every bad guy has his or her own little character as a particular kind of bad person, bad guy, mob. It's a mob movie. And so you're just kind of, and that's what I would say to Mel Gibson is how do you make a movie with no good guys? There's nobody to root for. It's everybody's bad, you know, but I don't know why I'm telling that. I'm not recommending it. I'm just commenting that here we have a similarity in the story where it's really hard to find a good guy. Yeah, you're going to end up rooting for somebody because he's the underdog. But, you know, if you heard this, how would you respond from your brothers?
Well, make too much of my dreams.
So they hated him even more. The implication is clear. There's a dream that's happened in the family where a son has a dream about ruling over the brothers. It's going to get worse in a minute. It's going to be extended to the father and the mothers as well. But now you have this, in the ancient Near East, of course, there'd be this kind of like premonition idea of it. They take these dreams serious. So he has this dream, and they don't just dismiss it like we would. You know, they take them serious. And in the story, it's foreshadowing. It's more than that. It's a decree. We now expect the story to unfold this way in some fashion. But you wouldn't expect the story to unfold this way unfold that way, given what is about to happen because of these dreams. So that's the dream. They hate him even more. It's going from bad to worse for Joseph. He's not going to learn the lesson, or maybe he does. He knows exactly what he's talking about. I don't know. He dreams another dream, and he told it to his brothers and said, "Behold, I have dreamed another dream." I mean, I'm sure when they said that they hated him even more, they expressed it. They didn't keep it. It's not like they heard it and they all turned their backs and said, "Man, who does this guy think he is?" You know, they didn't do that. I mean, it's immediate rebuke or whatever they did to him. He responds after this dream. Dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun. Now it's not just the 11 stars. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. And he told his father and his brothers. And his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father mused about it, kept the saying in mind, because they take these things serious, these dreams. Also,
I get a kick out of who his mom's dead.
his mom is dead. So who's his mother now? Probably Bilhah.
So is she would still be alive then when they go to Egypt?
Who?
Bilhah. Be his mom. We don't know.
She's alive at the beginning of the story, and then she will never be in the story again. Leah's gone.
Did they ever mention again the mothers of the children after this?
It's also possible that when it says he was a boy with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, so he was moved into the group with the concubines, those sons,
Yeah.
not with Leah.
Right.
So they kind of take over, I don't know, the matriarchy of Joseph, Bilhah and Zilpah. Leah probably not, or Leah's not alive either. We have no idea. She might be dead too.
And don't you think these dreams would have been a little different than the dreams we have? It would have been so vivid or distinct from other dreams that he would know there's some
Yeah,
meaning to it.
probably. I mean, goodness gracious, I've had some dreams back in high school. I still remember this day.
Yeah,
I've never had a dream that I would consider a premonition
Yeah.
of.
I had
So
dreams that the facts of the dream came through the very next day, twice.
whoa.
I had a dream once that somebody gave me $500,000 and it was really, really realistic. And I woke up and it was so realistic when I woke up. It's like, I couldn't believe, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is really disappointing."
You know, let's think about why these dreams happen. You know, basically, I think God was kind of telling Joseph that he was gonna be that ruler. Even though I'm sure Joseph didn't understand that, but he was basically kind of this. God was doing everything through Joseph. To prepare
Yeah,
his family. For what was gonna come into the future.
yeah.
It's certainly a decree. Comes in the form of a dream.
He doesn't have the ability to interpret dreams at this point, like he did when he was.
Or does he?
It's not mentioned, but
No.
we don't know.
Okay.
What is not said?
Hmm.
Okay,
What's not said in here is that God spoke to him in a dream.
exactly. This is not a vision. It's or an appearance. It's a dream. Go ahead, Vic.
And maybe he said it because he knew God wanted him to tell what the dream was.
Well,
It's a different reaction of the brother as in his thought.
If you're telling your brothers this dream, would you tell brothers? He tells treacherous. These guys wiped out a city. You know, you're gonna tell brothers something like this? So I don't know. All you get is this. It's like a few verses. You don't have any idea, but it's a very strange story. All the, you know, this whole family. I would not have wanted anything to do with this family. And neither did anybody else. But, you know,
I always found this next verse strange. They were pasturing their flocks and their chicken where they.
Yeah.
But we driven out.
let's see,
You would have had to know that the housing agreements, not gonna like it.
no question.
No doubt about it.
My hunch is, now that you mention it, he was an interpreter. And he didn't have the, what do you want to call it? What do you call it when you have the ability to hold your words back that I don't have?
Self-control?
There's a word for that, restraint, to just not mention that. On the other hand, here's to the point, it's gonna be this that is gonna be the catalyst for them to do the thing that's gonna result in him ending up in Egypt as a slave.
So as far as the
Yeah.
prophets of God goes, it was necessary.
It was necessary.
to Do this. To.
Yeah.
Drive them to the point of selling it.
Yes,
And so you have to step back a few thousand miles and look at it from the big picture.
in the history of Israel, this is a pivotal moment,
That-
a very, very critical moment in the history of Israel.
God uses their jealousy and their hatred to bring about his plan.
Exactly, like he's used
So many things to think about.
all the way through the book.
I mean, think about the ungodly men that he used to do his will, Nebuchadnezzar. Now, I do firmly believe from Daniel,
Yeah.
that Nebuchadnezzar eventually came to the saving knowledge of God, at least. But Cyrus, I mean, I've been reading through Isaiah in preparation for our next series. And Cyrus is predicted in
By name,
Isaiah, by name, in Isaiah 44 or something like that. And I mean, we were talking about 700, several hundred years before that event was going to take place. Because so this is, say, 750, 720
More like,
BC. So, and then the
About
event
300
took place about 200 years later, about 535, 537 BC. And so, God has a way of just orchestrating things. He's a master orchestrator.
if he's waiting to use human virtue to accomplish his will.
His will not.
And is there even an incident where
Jesus, who's
where he uses human virtue without first telling them to do something? Where somebody does a virtuous thing, and out of the virtuous thing, this divine, I'm sure there is, but I'm making my point that this seems to be the pattern. All right,
maybe rude.
In the midst of their anger, would it ever have occurred to them that the dream might be true?
no.
They think it was made up.
Even if they didn't, they think he's lording it. It's just this arrogant. He's the favorite they despise because he throws his favorite status in their face. Now he's having dreams about it. How full of yourself can you be?
Well, I tell you, I'll go back to one of my dreams that I had when I was 17. And it was regarding, I was part of the sang in the choir in high school, and I went to going to solo ensemble the next day. Where I was going to sing a solo, plus there was two groups singing, another soloist as well. I dreamt that the ladies group, the ladies ensemble got a 1. The other soloist got a 2. That the mixed group that I was singing with got a 3, which is a very bad score. But I got a 1. And I made the mistake of telling guys about my dream on the bus ride over. But my parents came and I rode home with them. It's a good thing they did because they were so upset with me on the bus ride home when everything came true to them. So I had my Joseph moment.
But it's important to note that they already hated him.
yeah,
Yes. And I think that you go back to that very first, first couple verses where it says, puts Joseph with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. I think you're right that the sons of Jacob considered him to be the son of a concubine, at least the sons of Leah. I think that there was authorization probably between the sons, 6 sons of Leah, and all the rest of the other sons. It's not specified that way, but I have an idea.
So I think this is kind of like the story of Esau stealing the birthright in that sense. I'm sorry, Jacob stealing the birthright. Now you have this moment which creates this enmity between the brothers. But in this case, maybe not, because in this case, it was already there. My guess is it was already there between Esau and Jacob as well, but I don't know. Okay,
Well, Leah might have instilled a lot of this into her son because
No doubt.
she wasn't his favorite wife.
She already referred to Rachel stealing her husband away from her earlier.
So I'm sure Leah probably through their childhood was like, I'm mad at Jacob because I'm not his favorite, he's on his first wife.
Humanly speaking, we can go back and blame Laban for all this and his trick but understand, again, the big picture, this was God's providence because it was through Leah's son that Christ came. And so, like that, there's so much there that we can't fully fathom. God is unfathomable. And I mean, I never even thought about this until we're having this discussion,
Like Gary always said, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't make it up.
okay, verse 12. Now his brothers went to pasture their flocks, father's flock near Shechem. We'll get back to that. And Israel / Jacob said to Joseph, why? Why would he do this? We've already had the dreams. I don't know. Are not your brothers pasturing the flock at Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. And he said to him, here I am. I guess that is ancient speak for alrighty then, or something, I don't know. So he said to him, go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring me word. So he sent him away from the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. So what are we talking about here distance-wise? I should have a map open, but I don't. Let me find one. Nuts. How about this one? It's gonna work. You just need something with Hebron on it. Here's Hebron down here. You can see the distances. Here's Hebron right here. Here's Shechem. They wandered. To find pasture? Yeah, they wandered. So it could have been a long time. He has no idea. There's no internet. There's no phones, nothing like that, right? He has no idea. So,
And then where's the other place he's gonna go to?
Dothan,
No.
that is that on this? Dothan is up,
Farther north?
yeah, it's farther north.
Hmm.
I think it's up here.
Okay.
That's where he finds the guy who's going to point him in the right direction. But he's wandering. Who knows? I mean, he's wandering. You don't know how many days he's wandering around trying to find these people. Life was not easy.
So it takes several days.
Tough.
This-
So they're back in the vicinity of Shechem, which we know what happened to Shechem. Valley of Hebron. Let's see. The man found him, local color. Kind of has the ring of truth to it, right? Why would the story be made up this way? And a man found him wandering in the fields, this 17-year-old wandering around 50, 60 miles away from home, looking for someone, looking for some flocks, I don't know what you look for. You just keep asking around until you find them. It's not like you can take enough supplies to last for 3 weeks, unless I suppose you could if you have a donkey or something. He probably did. Finds him in the fields, and the man asked him, what are you seeking? He said, I'm seeking my brothers. He said, tell me, please, where they are pasturing the flock. And the man said, they have gone away, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan, and I think Dothan, I found it on a map earlier. I think it's to the north of Shechem, so we're getting even farther away. Maybe that's part of it. Joseph is more and more into enemy territory, farther and farther away from home, more and more in peril. Maybe that's part of the point. Where was I? I don't think I have any more to say about that. Let's just read it. We can talk about it next time. Just brutal. They saw him from afar. Uh-oh. Whenever you see that, it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go in the way of Isaac and Rebekah, where Rebekah saw Isaac from afar. It can go that way, or it can go this way, where there's a plot. And there is a plot afoot, because if these brothers are awake, my hunch is they're plotting.
It wouldn't necessarily, wouldn't have been too hard for him, since he's wearing the color, the coat his father gave him. But for them to know who exactly it was anyway, so.
If he's wearing it, be nervy.
He was.
Where did, oh, yeah, okay. That's nervy. That's throwing it in your face right there. And before he came near to them, they went into the mode. They conspired against him to kill him. And they said, how many brothers? We don't know. They said one to another, here comes this dreamer. He's just the dreamer. Come now, let us kill him, throw him into one of the pits, watering pits. Then we will say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. Not sure his father ever really bought that story. I have reason to think that. We'll get to it later. But when Reuben, the firstborn, the one who slept with Bilhah, his father's wife, heard it, he's the one who rescued him out of their hands, saying, let us not take his life. Now he's plotting. So we got plot on plot. But he's plotting to undo the plot of these treacherous brothers.
And he get himself back in the dad's good graces.
It's not like he's saying, he doesn't just walk up to him and say, no, we can't do this. Let's just take him back. Everything will be fine. He doesn't want to challenge these brothers. He needs to be subtle, which tells you the nature of this family, in my opinion, reading between the lines. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him, that he might rescue him out of their hand to restore him to his father. So he figures, I'll come back. When they're gone, I'll come back and I'll lift them up out of the pit. It'll be our little secret. And then Joseph can say whatever he wants to say. Somebody help me out of the pit, or something like that. It's not exactly going to make the brothers look very good if Joseph goes back to the father and said, hey, your sons did this to me. Although maybe his father's used to this kind of treachery. I don't know. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe. Didn't take long to make that plot. The robe of many colors that he wore. And they took him and threw him into a pit. And the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And we'll end with this. Then they sat down to eat. Close enough to hear his screams. We'll find that out later. Close enough to hear so they could enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's the story. The beginning of the story of how Joseph ends up in Egypt, which will be the catalyst for the rest of the clan ending up in Egypt. It's just really brutal. So we'll go ahead and stop there.
So must have been watching the flock while the brothers were eating or something, because he hadn't realized he just wanted to set him off with Ishmael.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough.